Hi everyone, this is Ellen Marie Francisco. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to talk about the eclipse in September on the 21st, right on the solstice practically. It's the solar eclipse, and we're going to do some tarot for it and just see what we're coming up against here. This is the second eclipse in September 2025. And it's going to have far-reaching effects. So I'm going to pull 10 cards for the Celtic cross. And the first card I'm pulling has to do with our collective center points, I guess. Oops, things are... All right, so the eclipse energies. Sometimes doorways open during eclipses, and sometimes doorways close during eclipses. Which one is which depends on how the universal winds are blowing. Right, I'm feeling like I'm just about to cut these cards. All right. I'll work with this. Let's see what we've got here. You know what? I saw this earlier for our September forecasting. The Six of Cups is our center card this month in the eclipse category, in the September 21st eclipse. So relationships and our heart, it's good because, you know, we had a lot of Leo energy earlier in August that we were working through. So this is great. It looks like we're moving through the evolutionary cycle here with relationships, and interesting enough, we want to build the relationships and maintain the long term. Friendships can turn into lovers, into partners, into lifelong mates, into husband wives, all of it. So that's good. It's a heart. If you're in your heart, that's a good place to start with the eclipse here. Family may be more eclipsed into your world. If you feel like you've been neglecting your family, then that could be what your eclipse is all about, bringing them back into center stage. The Four of Wands is crossing this. Well, that's really kind of homey. First, you're, got your family with you, whether that's bio, spiritual, whatever it is. It's a family, and you're being crossed with the home body life. This has also come up already in this eclipse series and in September 2025 in the other reading I did. 2 readings for this month already. Yeah. So you're nurturing your sense of self in the home environment, making sure that you're comfortable. Your comfort is important during this eclipse cycle. Five of Swords, we've had this card quite a bit this last year. Haven't seen it in a few months, and yet here it is again. It's underneath us. It could be a sign that, yes, this is what we're coming out of. Some of this is communication and the difficult conversations we haven't been able to have, and the change that can transpire as a result. So I would say that, yeah, we're going to, anything that hasn't been processed in verbally, things that need to be talked out are going to be important during this cycle. So another reason not to let things build up. If given the choice, talk things out as you can to the degree. Don't have verbal warfare with people, give a little hint as to where you're coming from and move on. If it looks like it's a little too complicated, then that might not be the right time to deal with it, Focus on what is working. Focus on being willing to communicate in the best way possible. And at every new opportunity, you have to communicate. The Four of Swords. All right, so that's 2 4s. So these foundations, these are repetitive cards already between eclipses earlier in the month. The other eclipse on the 7th. Four of Swords is also a foundation card. It can be being willing to be open more to your own higher self, to being willing to listen to your spirit guides and the universal flow of energy, the whisperings of the universe around you, and all the rest of it, reading the signs on the wall, so to speak. Yeah, so and with a Four of Wands already, the identity that you have and how you want to express yourself is also, yeah. One of these is more expressive than the other, more action oriented, and one of them is sort of the quieter paced way, being in a state of allowance, but both of them kind of spell out the same thing, a lot of comfort in your home, whether that's your, bedroom, living room, overall home, or your body space home, and how you live in yourself comfortably. You're willing to house your own higher self in your body. Like, how comfortable are you with your own spiritual family? Your spiritual family includes your higher self and some of your other ancestors that you may not have seen or even known, that could be, coming along for the ride here, making sure that you're hearing the messages, that they're all sending you. So there could be a bunch of ways to interpret how well this information works for you. Last, it's your fingertips. Just catching up with cards here. So we've also got a Page of Cups, part of our Celtic cross, crowning above us. And so you could be, so where underneath us, I was saying that these are difficult conversations that we may need to have, and in ways that we need to communicate. It's going to be important to speak our truth and be aligned with changes that come from that. Sometimes we gain and sometimes we lose, but mostly we just have to accept and move on and keep going with the purpose of better communication, not worse communication. And having the Page of Cups hanging over our head, this is also communication. This is heart to heart communication. So you could be talking to your kids more, or any kind of youth, looking at, doing inner healing of your inner child as well at the same time. Sometimes we heal, our inner child as we're raising our kids at that same age, and on and on. So there could be a lot of correlations to healing and speaking heart truth willingly, lovingly, to preserve relationships and the momentum that you've built in them. Being open. Also, if you can have selective amnesia sometimes with people and situations in a healthy way, not in a, dismantling way, but in a healthy kind of vulnerable way, then, you could really keep an open mind about things. You may learn, you may be happier as a result. You could learn something that's really beneficial and endorsing. If you look at things in a new way, if you're willing to look at it with fresh eyes, right? Oh, the Hangman. Not the first time this thing's come up in September related to the eclipses. So dream a little dream, do a little zone out. If you're tuning in and trying to calibrate new spiritual energies and doing the translation between spirit into the body and things like that, from the higher mind into the constructive ego mind, it can be a little draining here and there. And they're saying don't overthink it anyway with the Hangman. And the Hangman is actually in the doorway to our future. It was pretty close to that position in the other video about some of September and the eclipse, the earlier eclipse. Yeah, so don't overthink it. Don't get caught in a mind warp. If Spirit's giving you good information, sometimes your brain, knowing that it's getting information that it doesn't have to really think too much about, it will feel, it will feel this overwhelming necessity to overthink everything in your world. So if suddenly you're going down this doorway of overthinking out of nowhere, then I'd say that's a good sign that you've made a breakthrough with the energetics and the spiritual part and how all that connects to your benefit. And it's even more important not to overthink. So it'd be better just to give yourself really good positive affirmations that have happy endings, and let the spirit stuff just take better hold, until you trust it better and you can rely on it more. Sometimes you don't want to rely on it because you don't want to jinx it. And sometimes you don't want to rely on it because it's new to you and it's intimidating, and God knows what they're going to want after that. So there's healthy reasons to maybe not open to it willingly, but it's better to at least acknowledge and accept to a certain degree. It's easier for you to integrate the energies, especially if they're forced upon you from the outer world during an eclipse cycle. It's like tons of information or tons of energy piled on top of you all at once, and you've got to kind of, rise up through it in a way as gracefully as possible. You can do it any way you want. Oh, we saw this earlier, talking about some of this as well. Oh yeah, that's how we ended that was like the new moon energy too. So, when we are at odds with ourselves, it can be a lot of work trying to find the equilibrium. So if, for instance, you weren't able to turn off your brain and take a chill pill and not get too hard on yourself, then you could still be working that out as part of the eclipse. That could be part of your eclipse, is coming to terms with it, having a heart to heart with your inner self, all parts of yourself, and being willing to understand what you need. Your needs change during these cycles when you're getting hit with a lot of spiritual weather and a lot of, planetary stuff. Some of this is forced growth, like in your own heart of hearts. Would you really want to do it or even get up off the couch? Maybe not, but here it is. And here we must do what we must do. So make peace with the parts of yourselves maybe that you've neglected, that now want a louder part of your day or a healthier part of your day. Make peace with the parts of you that are unhappy, so you can make get your other goodbyes ready, so you can leave those parts behind. You don't really want to cling to things that aren't working during eclipse cycle. You pretty much want to go, I'm willing to surrender. I'm willing to find a new way to do this. And of course, love is always the answer. We're back to what was our center card. Our center card is a loving spiritual family card. And you, as I said, are part of your own spiritual family. You're you, yourself, and you. The me, myself, and I world. It does translate. So energetically, you've got to be aware of all of these parts of yourself vying for your success. So it's not a bad, this is the eclipse energy. So basically, yeah, you're bringing into more light the parts of you that work the best with you. Maybe that's a good way of saying it. Oh yeah, we got 2 more cards. All right, so the last cards for this eclipse are the Strength card, which does come through our solar plexus. A lot of times it has to do with our power, our willingness to live our divine power and use our human will to will our way through our divine will. The Knight of Swords is a doer, gets things done. It does sometimes bring in a lot of quick change and can be gossip, lots of words and things like that. So you may be hearing things quite a bit around you and sorting through what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. So there could be quick changes, yeah. And I mean, eclipses are like that. Eclipses do bring a lot of change quickly. So you've probably built a lot of strengths along the way. They're hidden. It's upside down. So I'm going to read that as maybe you've got strengths that are hidden that you are not fully aware of that are working with you. And you've got strengths that you've had hiding under the surface, you've been developing all this time, haven't really had the chance to use them. So it sounds like this eclipse is going to bring them more to the foreground. And, yeah, so that's kind of nice because it's good to know that you've got strength, it's good to be able to put it to use. And then with this kind of quick change, it could be a lot of telepathy stuff going on too. If you really are listening to yourself and giving yourself the space to receive messages, you really could be getting right on, put your money on it kind of accuracy, so trust if you're building strengths that you may have new talents or new abilities that are going to help you as well. Dare to be competent. You know, in fact, yeah, yeah, yeah. And let spirit guide you. This is it. Like there's a lot of growth in your ability to work with your own energies and in tandem with all the spiritual and energetic forces around you. So may the force be with you and have a great solstice eclipse. And we'll see you soon. Thanks for coming into my channel. Take good care. We'll talk later. Namaste until another day.